Hi guys, I'm sitting here making an axe, Flint Axe, which I'm going to put into a U-handle. I've done the roughing out, so now it's about tidying up and pulling it all into line. But the reason for the video was to talk about my recent successful run of bad luck. So, it's not all down to luck. In actual fact, none of it's down to luck. It's all down to personal stupidity and not paying enough attention, which is always one of my gripes in life. Pay attention. So it started off with not paying attention to my airport ticket, which consequently meant that I missed my plane. But no problems. We got round that one. Cost a few bob. 300 quid later, I got my new plane booked for the following day and went off to the airport to drop the car off, only to be told that it was dirty. Well, of course it's dirty, I've just used it for a whole week. But anyway, they charged me a valeting fee and I successfully boarded the next plane and flew into England and started looking for my vehicle. Well, basically what I needed to do was get a bus and go out to what was called the mid-stay car park, but no one knew where it was, which seemed a bit bizarre. And after some investigation later, I discovered there wasn't a mid-stay car park because I was at the wrong airport. So I got a bus, and the bus took me from Heathrow to Stansted, and I picked up my car, which fortunately started. But then I got charged again because I was late, but I kind of expected that. And I journeyed home. Got home, see my little boy, Magic, went off and did a course, which was a couple of days course. Come back, went shopping for a few bits and pieces. Then I crashed into the bollard in the car park. Sort of took the side of my car out. Bad luck, my fault. And I thought, well, that's what insurance is for. So rung up the insurance, told them what I'd done. They said, yeah, that's no problem, but you've got £400 excess to pay. This is all starting to add up. And so anyway, that's soon going to be going in for repair. And then following that, went and dropped my son off for school and went to fill up with petrol. All went successfully, apart from the fact my car runs on diesel. I filled it up with petrol. Now how's that going to work? So I rung the AA up and they said, yeah, we'll send a bloke out. That will be £200. So I paid the 200 quid and and then they ring me back. I thought it was a courtesy call. They said, really sorry, but they're not available. I said, oh, all right. They gave me my money back. But fortunately, there's something called a fuel doctor, and they advertise it in the garage window. So I rang him up, and he said, yeah, I can come out. That's going to be £150. I thought, good, I'm £50 better off. And then he sucked all of the petrol out. Didn't get paid for that. And Why am I telling you all this? Well, because no one's perfect, are they? And while I was in Spain, I was having a terrific time, and I've got these beautiful memories. And isn't it strange how you can go from a high place to a low place? But what's the point in me going to a low place? Maybe slow down a little bit, take a breath. But life can be tricky sometimes. I get it, and I'm sure all you get it as well. There's an unfortunate chain of events. You could say, bloody hell mate, you're mad. No, I'm human. And getting through the best I can, doing what I can, and it'll all work out, I'm sure. So I thought, well, if you sit down and do something that you actually can do and it works out, that might pull a stop to the end of these events. Something actually happening, right? And I thought I'd share it with you. Just to give you a laugh, and if you're having a hard time, it might put things in perspective a little bit, because isn't it lovely when shit hits the fan and perspective gets drawn together? Good. So, one of the things about moving around in Spain and going to visit all of these wonderful ancient caves where people had left their creative art on the walls, is it got into me and it left an impression, quite delicate impression, because these people had a much different way of looking at the cave to the way we look at it today. Quite often the caves looked entirely different during their time, and since they've been gone, the ceilings have fallen in, the floors have washed away. There's been excavations in there, quite deep excavations in some caves. Every single cave that I went in was almost entirely different to the next one. And also, on many accounts, so were the paintings, the techniques that we used, images of hands, very old and very different to some of the images of deer and bison and horses. Sometimes they dabbed with the end of the finger, sometimes they used charcoal, repeatedly using ochre, which is another story all by itself. But the one thing that they would have all had in common is a cave without modern day lighting is a black hole, and that black hole can be full of many things. So not only the artist, but the people that followed in behind with the flickering flaming torches, to enter such a place was almost a pilgrimage. The dangers started at the floor. Is there a floor? Does it go down? Does it go in? What's going on with the roof? And then, even before the painting, caves have a tendency of wobbling about under light, So this would have been massively suggestive of spirit. And after going into like the 5th cave, I was changing. I was changing in my perception. My perception was becoming enriched. I knew that there something would happen, but I didn't know what. I think I got behind the mindset much deeper than I could have done if I just went into one cave. You know, one cave leaves an impression, but when you keep going into more and more and more, you get a multi-layered effect. And so that was such a worthwhile experience. And just adding on to that, I've already put a post out recently about the fact that I run a tour into an ancient place in Grimes Graves, and that's an opportunity for very few people to get into an ancient space. And there are techniques that are used by, I would describe it as a good tour guide, to help the energy that's within a cave to be noticed. And over the 2 years that I've been taking people into this particular pit, the cave has taught me, or the pit has taught me, how to use it. And because I think it wants to be appreciated. That's a whole different language all by itself, you know. But over a year, I literally had 40 spaces, and they're getting bought up right now. So if you want to come down an ancient flint mine, Grimes Graves, come and do it. You know, don't put it off. It might not always be something that I can offer. The first time I went in there, it was back in 1975, and it was like nearly 38, 40 years later before I got back in it, because it was shut permanently. And for it to be opened now, it's a very pristine thing. I can't even begin to, well, I can explain, but I think that the better way of doing it is getting on that course. Anyway, maybe my luck is changing, because this axe is coming about. There's a little knock on the side here, but that's going to be inside a handle, so we're all good. And also on that course, hopefully you get a chance to, well, you definitely get a chance to make one. I'll support you. And when you get hungry, no problems, because we have a venison to eat. Anyway, that was my story. It's just life. Take care, and I hope to see you along the road in 2020. Cheers.